Albert. Maybe I just do a bit of self-introduction. I am from Taiwan. I've been in Singapore since 1997, so this is my 25th year in Singapore. I'm still holding to Taiwan passport because my wife and I we decided that okay, one of us be Singaporean, one of us keep our original passport, yeah, so that we can have this dual citizenship, to be a global citizen, in that sense. Yeah, so it's been really nice the last 25 years. I mean, like, there were parts that there's a bit of like searching for identity, and there were parts where we were like also getting to know how we are as building a family in Singapore together. Yeah, so today's sharing, of course, it will link to the work that I'm doing with the children in terms of design and education. But I will also link it to the larger context of like the personal journey, and also some of the stories that comes to how Beep Lab comes to place. Because most of you here, kids, how old are you? Can I just double check? Are you all about 7, 5? I know some of you look quite young. Anyone 10 years old or not? Anybody that's 10 years old? Anybody 10-year old or 9-year old? Okay, about there, 11 and a half. Okay, around your age, about 10, I took a plane with my brothers to Singapore, and then I was staying in a foster family. Australians, there are Taiwanese, there are different people that are coming together. Yeah, so I just want to say that it's really really wonderful to see all of you. Okay, that you can actually stay together with your family in that sense. But Uncle Albert had a large extended family. Yeah. Yeah, and because of that, I think that has very that actually shaped very very fundamental perspective of how I see the world, because I have a worldview. 10 years old, up to 10 years in Taiwan, I see how the environment in Taiwan is, and suddenly my worldview shift to Singapore. Strange things like, oh, I didn't know that there's half-boiled egg. How many of you eat half-boiled egg in Singapore? Wow. But in Taiwan, I don't have hard-boiled egg. Uncle Albert really cannot understand what is kaya and butter. I only know butter and bread or chocolate and or strawberry. And Uncle Albert cannot speak English. Can you imagine if you go to, let's say you all speak English now, then let's say you suddenly go to China or suddenly go to Taiwan. Everybody around you is speaking foreign language to you. How would you feel? Anybody, will you feel very anxious? My first 6 months, I remember I was constantly feeling very anxious because I don't know how to speak English. All my grandpa prepared me was A for apple, B for boy, C for cat, D for dog. Yeah, so just imagine I come to Singapore, don't know anything in English, So I think at the point of time, I think learning very quickly to adapt was a very important thing. Yeah, so today's sharing also is also I want to connect to this idea of like learning to adaptability, the adaptable skill sets, and also our Uncle Bob also talk a little bit about like how to combine the things you know now and the things you know in the past, and then combine them. How many of you like to combine things? Like you play with Play-Doh or things you like to add things together, mix and mash. How many of you like to do that? I don't know. I think some people like mix slime. They like to like combine the slime together. I also like. I don't like to have slime with one color. I like to have slime with multiple colors. That I can mix and match. Yeah. So part of my sharing today will have a bit of this idea of like slime making. Like mixing up the things, elements in your life, to combine it. Okay, so I hope that will be something that you guys can relate. Okay, and one more thing is, kids, can I ask you, when you want to learn something, who do you ask? Can I ask the children? Like you're interested in something, who will you ask? Daddy, mommy, or friends?
Google,
Who?
Google.
Oh, you ask Google. Oh, okay, you ask Google. Who else also ask Google? Oh, a lot of people ask Google. We have this joke. Google become our the big the new brother. So okay. So back then, Uncle Albert here also. I also got a lot of questions, but there's no Google back then lah. So of course I can't ask Google. But I learned to ask different people that were around me, or sometimes it could be also asking the gogo and姐姐that was before me. Okay, so I think another part of the thing I will be covering is about asking question and finding mentors or finding people that might be able to give you some interesting answers and advices. Okay, so let's keep that open mind. All right, so let me continue up to my to the sharing. I mean, of course, I think since today we're talking about Beat Lab, so I'm sure some of you might have already checked Beat Lab out. Like you can see some of the things that we do, uh, or some at least. Can I just get a show of hand? Like how many of you already heard about Beat Lab? Like I mean, maybe on your chat box, and just you can say yes, Y for yes, and N for no. Just I just want to get a sense like how many of you already know a little bit about Beat Lab? Oh, okay, Grace, yes. Okay, 50-50. Okay, a bit. Okay. All right. So no worries. So I think that's we'll get to the crux of that. I mean, but I will probably use a video to just show a bit of like a summary of what we are doing in Singapore at the moment, and then I will narrate it from a bit of my personal perspective and a bit of why we do Beep Lab, and then we'll look at how we do it and what are some of the things we do that you can come on board as well. Okay, so how about I just start with the video, and I will start with this video that is in 2020. Okay, this video is a bit more of like the distant past during the pandemic period, but it shows a good mix of like the things that we do and also the things that we were doing online. Okay, so just give me a second. I mean, let's launch this video. Okay. Okay. Well, I use this video as a start because this video was quite a defining moment for Beep Lab in 2020. I mean, that was about the in April and May of 2020 when we were having the lockdown, and because that was the period of time when we were actually thinking about shutting in Beep Lab down, because we were thinking that actually the world is closing up. Why would even people care about learning about the architecture and the built environment anymore? Everybody's staying at home. But at that point in time, I thought, okay, if it's this sort of crisis moment, how do we move forward? Yeah, so my wife actually encouraged me at that point in time to actually start to work with my the partners around us. So in that organization, there was some organization over there that we start to work with. It's actually to work with tour agencies, also agencies that were also struggling to survive in that pandemic. And then after that, also I started linked up with my partner in Taiwan, who are also going through that in that pandemic season. So all the people we share the same problem, but then we all still have same desire is to actually to let the children to explore the world, lah, and to think about what can they design something, even in the midst of pandemic. Yeah. So that workshop became the like a restart, like a pivoting moment for us to rethink about when we say we want to deliver design education for children, what does it mean? And I used to only believe that design education can only be conducted face to face, but the pandemic also gave me an opportunity to relook, at how workshops can be done, and how we can get kids to be activated, hands-on, at home, with the parents as facilitator. I think that is one of the crucial lesson that I thought it was really important to start, and that also kept me grounded as to why I actually started doing this work. Because there are many educational resources, there are many other priorities for parents as well, but how do we even bring up the importance of design and also education and linking to the built environment challenges, which I think we really live in a very interesting time. So therefore, I think that was just a starting message that I want to bring to everybody. One is to really find opportunity, find in crisis moment, find opportunity to grow, and also it was also because of that I get to know a lot of other children overseas, so that's really exciting. And in fact, today, you guys are having this little platform to have a chat here. It's also part of, I mean, it's also because of the pandemic, the way that we have rechanged the way we have consumed information. So that is also, I think, is really good. It really break that boundary and making learning without borders. All right. So I hope that video give you a sense of like, okay, okay, Uncle Albert, you'll be black, you get the kids to build model, do drawing, and stuff like that. Okay, but I want to just touch on one of a few person that I want to actually talk about in today's presentation. Not so much of like the work that we do, but the people that actually form the foundation of what we do. So I want to start by talking about Dr. N. Taylor. I knew her in 2015 when I was just about to start the work. Dr. N. Taylor, she has been doing architecture for children since the 1970s in the US, in New Mexico. She started doing her research and thesis about how children have this natural way to distinct out what's beautiful and what's not, and then she started to think about like how to plan educational spaces, and I think in her own research, then she realizes that landscape, built environment are actually textbook and learning resources for educators, parents, and also to children. And so that actually, and she started to create curriculum that's revolving around architecture and children in the 90s. When I first started out, I also wanted to refer to have a point of reference, to have somebody that is credible that I can actually learn from, that I don't have to start from the thin air. Nothing should be start from the scratch just for nothing, right? So I believe that it's good to base the education on something. So Dr. M provided that baseline and that base research of architecture and children, and since then we've been email pal, and during pandemic we become we started to have this mentoring relationship that we meet online almost fortnightly over Zoom. She's now an 89-year-old grandma, but highly very technology, like very technological inclined. She can use WhatsApp, she can use Zoom, she do PowerPoint, and she can still present. So in the last 2 years, I had the honor to be mentored under her to learn a lot about the work that she does. And as an 89-year-old grandmother, she's full of passion and wants to pass down the passion of design education to kids. And I felt very honored to be able to work alongside with her in this journey. And this was a picture taken in 2019 when Big Black just formed the 1 year anniversary. I think Zhen Xin was there with us when I think your number three baby was still in the stomach, I think. Yeah. Oh, that's number four already. Oh, yes, that's number four. Correct, correct. Yeah. So Dr. N was she even in our 1 year anniversary she give us this like a birthday card, and she play a piano song to wish us happy birthday, and that was before the pandemic lah. But right after that, we went through that whole transformation phase. But what in this letter she said in Chinese, it just says that wish Be Black, and the exploration of architecture and youth as a wonderful endeavor. I always use this picture to remind me of I'm actually not doing this alone. I'm actually doing this on the shoulders of giants like her. So today, as I share this talk with you, I also would like to just bring forth this message and the message that Dr. N has to carry. Yeah, so because of that, it started to inspire me to think about, hey, what can we do with children to learn and explore through architecture? So Be Black was started in 2018, and it stands for Built Environment Experiential Program. So I was an architect before that, but I was also thinking about, should I start an architecture school for children? But I realized that many people actually understand architecture, or sometimes even they will ask, huh, what even you ask architect friends, they say, I don't want my kids to be architect because they'll work late, stay overnight, blah blah blah. Then I realized, yeah, actually, maybe this term architecture is too scary already. Yeah, how about come up with something that's a bit more relatable, lah, huh? Yeah, so that's why I was thinking about this thing called BEEP, built environment, something more encompassing, that also can include more different types of profession, from engineering to sustainability, to natural and the cultural. And Beep Lab as a lab, I mean, we're coining this term now called the School of Design and Creativity, that we want to use this platform to enable, because children don't teach them we don't teach them creativity. They are already very creative. We're more like a bottle cap opener, right? We're more of just a conduit to channel that creativity out. Yeah, so I don't think we are here to like teach them creativity, but as to how to uh, direct those energy from these children out in an appropriate way through the scenarios, and also the built environment challenges. And then they can also, of course, there are times that they have to learn some of the things that are structured, and there are sometimes there are things that's open-ended. So with our approach is to see, to wonder, and do. Okay, and then they build the model, build the idea, and then they share with people and they learn. All right, so these are some of the fundamental principle that Big Black, as a School of Design Creativity, we have. Okay, let me continue. These are some of my teammates that I can also talk about them. So my wife and I, we founded this organization about in 2018, and then Ashraf is also one of my student in 2019, and ever since then he been even as a student capacity of a student, he been joining me to create content. So the three of us has been the main core team to generate the different ideas and execution, and we have many other adjunct facilitators. I mean, like recently, actually, I got to know Liana. She's also a homeschool mother, and she was an architect. She was also a preschool educator. Then we come our paths cross, and then we started to like go together. We have other, I mean, facilitators like Hafiza, uh, who learn about landscape architecture, but then she enjoys teaching, and then she also liked graphic, and therefore eventually come across a way, hey, teaching kids become an interesting combination. And that same story also went on for Shwata, Nupur, and Ryan. Ryan was also my ex-student when I was teaching about youth engagement, and then he also came on board. So very interestingly, we started to have this new generation of young people who not only like design, but they also love to educate, and they also love to engage children. So I think that is the I would say the basis of how we can actually continue this work, because we also want to invite like-minded people, not only just in architecture. When I say design discipline, they can be from fashion design, they can be from urban design, they can be from graphic design. So, but of course, it's important that these educators have some kind of design training, so that they can really bring practical design thinking process. Because design thinking cannot be taught as academic subject just by learning, like going through a class. One is an embodiment of an understanding of a designer, a solutionist, or somebody who would think empathetically to create design solutions. So that's how we form our facilitator team. to create whether it's workshop or camps. We will also feature in Finland this organization called 100. They are organization that selects like different kind of creative education around the world. So in 2019, we got actually selected. We went to Finland. So my team and I and my partners in Taiwan, we actually went to Finland to showcase and present our work. And it was really nice in that in that time also we got to meet some of the renowned architecture school for kids such as Arki in Finland. Then we realized that actually this work is really not something just in Singapore or in Taiwan. It's something actually around the world. Later, I will show you guys a map that describes about this network. But the next person I want to talk about is Dr. Tan Ping Yang. She was also my mentor when I was in university. In fact, she was one of my first tutor in NUS architecture school. And I remember first year under her class, I was constantly being slammed. I mean, in architecture we call it kind of slammed by your tutor. So that means you kind of wrestled. Then every time you do things, then she will say no, not good enough, redo. Or you build a model, she will tear it down and say redo. You draw a drawing, then she will draw circle on it, then you redraw. But it was really fun because you have this kind of mentor who are very authentic. They're not afraid to tell you that you're wrong, that you need to change. Not the wrong, not for the sake of being wrong, but to know what are the right practices. So she really taught me a lot about discipline, in actually refinement. So now that I've become a tutor in NUS, I also adapt the same sort of approach like how she has taught me. So I feel that this passing on of like pedagogy or approaches is what architecture in a design school can pass on to the next generation. Yeah, so I also remember when 2009 when I was doing my exchange in Korea, she was the tutor that flew from Singapore to Korea to give a crit to all the Korean students and including us lah. And she represent I recall many times the way she actually carried herself. Even the Korean counterparts were also very surprised, like how critical and the kind of critical thinking that this tutor could exercise and to inspire a new level of thinking. Yeah, so this is another very important mentor that I want to talk about in this entire pros endeavor. And when I first started out Big Lab in 2015, she also directed me to talk to her sister Bing Luan, who runs Creative O, and that's how I met Zhen Xing. Because Zhen Xing was that time was the coordinator for that third leadership summit in Paya Lebar, and it was also through Dr. Tan's direction. Then I went on. I persevered to make sure that I get myself a ticket, so that I could sit in this conference, and that has been really inspiring even up to this day. Yeah. So that's Dr. Tan. Okay. So yeah, so this is where we are based now in Pandan Garden. So we actually now have a proper campus, proper school. We actually started this school location in end of 2020, in a time where pandemic haven't over, when people were still very afraid of going out. And then at that point in time, there was an opportunity to say, do we want to rent a space to build our school? When everybody around me was saying, no lah, crazy lah, don't rent now, nobody want to go anywhere one. Like, why you going to rent? Like why open a school now? I mean, everybody want to go online. Everything should be online, right? That I this okay. I had this feeling that like no. Like the trend is yes online, no, but the learning cannot be 100% online one. Like eventually there will come a time will come back physical. Like the every children, you agree with me or not? You all like online teaching or like meet Uncle Albert face to face? Give me a thumbs up if you like to see Uncle Albert face to face, right? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure after a while you're like, okay lah, online is good lah, okay, it's pretty all good, but face-to-face engagement with the right facility, the right tools, the right facilitator is still the kind of formula that will makes the experience most enjoyable, right? So, my wife and I we decided to double down in this crisis to just say, okay, you know what? If we believe in setting up Deep Lab, this is the time. Like we want to remember next time. Remember when we started Deep Lab, not because we were afraid but because we really believe in something and we want to go for it. Yeah. So we're also very thankful to the people that were around us to help us to set it up. to get it up to speed. And now we've been there for the last about 1 year, 4 months, and we're very, very proud and happy to say that yeah, we have a growing number of enrollment of students on the weekend and some weekdays. And we can really through the process we can actually get to know and build relationship with many of the parents and children. Yeah, so now we have one flagship studio, and then we have been also having had the opportunity to share in some of the international summit. And lately, I also shared in National Art Education Council in New York. Although I would love to fly there, but then we did an online conference with the art educators in New York. We also have three long-term aligned partners: Funmaker in Taiwan and People Up in Singapore. We've been running 4 terms of 10-week studio for the last 6 terms. We have also many of strategic educational collaborators that allow us to bring different experiences. We also run camps. Also, a year we run many different kind of camps. And by now, we also have like 14 very experienced design facilitators that can work with us. uh, and uh, and we're very happy that we also have finally have starting to have followers to join us in this journey of joy of building, and still growing, and we hope to continue to grow this community, and really to help children to appreciate the beauty of our built and natural environment around us. Yeah, and this is the map that I was talking about, the network of architecture for children around the world. So when I first started the work, I wanted to just get a sense of like, so what is it out there? Like, are there people doing this already? Yeah, then I realized that actually there are many people in the US, across the states, running many chapters of architecture and children. Of course, many of them are related to American Institute of Architects. Some of them are also independent organizers, social enterprises, non-profit organizations. But I do see that actually, in many of these developed nations in Europe, especially, they even they came together. There were many architecture foundations or even museums that started to run architecture and children work. And I see a trend that, I mean, slowly Asia, when I discovered this in 2015, there were not many. There were only like Japan, Korea, and Hong Kong, and that was about it. Yeah. So, but over the last 7 years, I discovered many other partners, and also some of the partners like Funmaker and we started to develop our own community in Taiwan and Singapore, and also we started to also discover there are other networks that within the Southeast Asia region that we can establish. So we really see that actually this could be a trend, in the coming years. And I don't know if you guys are aware of Singapore Design Council's vision 2025 as Singapore Design Nation. Maybe next time you can go and Google it up and find out. They actually launched it in 2015 that they vision Singapore in 10 years' time to be a design nation, because they realized that to truly tap on human potential, one has to become a great empathetic designer to help to solve the solutions, not just in Singapore but around the world. And I think that will be a good movement to prepare our young ones in the years to come, and to join this world of design education for children. Yeah, so this is the next part. This is the way of the journey lah. So I just share a bit. The next person I want to share about, apart from Dr. N and Dr. Tan, is my mother. Actually, she probably be one of the most crucial person in this entire journey. When I started this journey in 2015, I had no place to start, so I started in my mother's clinic or empty office. So she has this empty office that she used to take naps. After her dental work routine. Then I asked my mom, I say, Mom, can you lend me this room? Let me run some workshop. I'm a bit bored coming back during national service. Then she said, okay lah, you go ahead and then run some workshops there. So in 2015, that year when I was doing national service in Taiwan, that's how I started the work lah. To just like regularly just gather some kids in the community, just do some workshops, build some models, try some things, get boxes from pharmacies, get the people. I put my poster at the bakery shop. I put at salon. Then those auntie making hair will say, "Hey, what's that? Auntie Liang, the son come back from Singapore trying to do something. Okay lah, go and try lah." So it was all word of mouth lah. Nothing too commercial. So, but that really started a seed in me. And my mother has been a great so-called support to me up to this time. constantly pray with me, and even in the time when I was going through the crisis to pivot, she was also there to support me, and to also support and double down with me on on building up the campus in Singapore. Yeah, so I mean the rest of the journey also is very important in terms of like working on the community. And then the next part I want to talk about in from 2016 onwards is SAE architects. There's this group of architects that I used to work with. They were one of the first group of supporters that enables this work to be possible. Yeah, so they were an architecture consultancy, but then they decided that actually sewing in children work is actually something very valuable. So therefore, they allow me to come on board to start to work with different organizations, especially in the government organization, on like promoting design thinking. So that's how I got to know some of the homeschool parents also after that through some of these events between 2016, 17, and 18. And those are very critical formative years for what Big Lab has been able to do, and eventually eventually then in 2018 then I decided to say, okay, uh, I mean, apart from doing this as a corporate social responsibility work from an architecture company's perspective, I think I want to double down on like creating it as a focused educational platform, so that it can really become very like so that the mission of what Big Black can do will really focus on education, but not on like the marketing purposes. But we can really market to the right people, and of course, we can still dedicate our resources at different points in time to work with people in need. Yeah, so we've been working with like we've been consistently continuing to work with the family services in different seasons during the year to develop workshops for the student care children. Yeah, and also sometimes we'll work with different children with different learning abilities through the student cares to promote this learning of architecture. Yeah. Okay, so that has been the part of the journey that Bila has been on, and I'm just very happy to be able to share this with all of you. At this point in time, give me a thumbs up. If, everybody so far so good. All right, kids, are you guys okay? Okay, right. Any burning question or thoughts at this point before Uncle Bert proceed to the second half? Like questions or thoughts? I mean, at this point in time, maybe you can like I just like take some questions, or response. Or anyone want to ask Uncle Albert anything? Okay. So,
Comments in the chat.
oh yes, 220. Why is it 201? Sorry, maybe is it about?
Typo in one part of the slide.
Oh no, actually
Oh, it's not ah. Okay.
because those are we have 200 series 200 series. Uh,
Oh.
level one, level two, level three. Yeah, later I'll get to that the different program that one's the last part that I will talk about it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I think so far so good. So maybe I will just proceed. Oh yes, yeah. I mean, I put it such that it's like architecture ARK 101, 201, 301, 401, 501, something like that lah. So eventually, we'll even maybe next time we'll come out with P like PM 102 project management, or like presentation module, or like Minecraft module, which we're actually developing some of this. But the digital studio will be above 300 series. That means it must be upper primary lah. Yeah, so that one I'll touch on a bit later. Okay. Yeah, so far I've been talking about the people that's very critical in shaping Big Lab. Maybe one more person I also want to talk about is a person where I met in Finland, Arki. I met this founder for Pitla. She actually came to Singapore to give a talk last year in design education. I would say she's a very, very inspiring figure for me. Because when I started to do this work, then I realized that wow, there was this lady called Pilar who'd been doing architecture for children for 25 years. And I thought that it's really great if I can learn something from her as well. So 2019 was a great opportunity where I went there to actually can like talk to her and see her campus, see how she set up the school, and the sort of thing that in Finland it has that kind of environment for kids, public school and also private education, in enrichment like that to connect. So that really definitely opened up my mind about the possibility of this sort of thing. But of course, there are subtle differences in how Finland runs education in Singapore, definitely, but there are still things that we can actually aspire to journey forward, lah. Okay, so maybe next part I will just continue about the BLab's core. Okay, so I think just now I talked a little bit about like the approaches that we do our design philosophy. So this part I will just talk about some of this like the frameworks that we use to structure our learning. Yeah, because I mean, of course, we love to have open-endedness, but we believe that in designer we have this famous quote. It say, constraints is the best creativity. Or sometimes we say time deadline is the best source of creativity. So sometimes we say, oh, why so many constraint one? But as from a designer's perspective, having constraint is actually a great thing. Because if we were to design something for someone without anything, oh, I just give you a blank, empty paper. It's actually very, very difficult to actually start with anything. You always start with like, hey, what do you need? And who's the person I'm designing for? What's the budget? What's the timeline? So these are to me frameworks to establish a creative constraint to let creativity becomes purposeful and intentional. Right. So, but the very first thing I want to touch on is the value that Be Black we believe in. There are these five values that we really believe very strongly. First is grace, which is to show grace to one another, whether it's the teachers or among the children. When we make things or we spoil someone's model or we didn't make the model properly, sometimes we get discouraged, or sometimes we get scared. Oh, I don't want to do it already. But I think having that capacity to say, it's okay, let's do it again. I think it's a very, very important value that we want to impart to our children. And secondly, is grit, the perseverance, the resilience. Even the things didn't work out the first time, we'll try again. Second time didn't work out, we'll try again. And I think there's something about making model and redrawing your drawings to make it right that we can really develop our sense of resilience and grit. Third is grease. Oh, what's grease? Grease is like something oily and dirty, right? But I believe that it's important to get our hands dirty. Sometimes the kids play with glue. I don't want to touch this really. This clay so wet. Yucky. No, don't worry. Like get your hands, like make it, do it. And we can wash it later. No problem. One. Then I think having that mindset to know that when we can get messy, when we can be organized, I think that is also a very important value. And the fourth one is gratitude. I think also it's important to understand that nothing happens just like that one. There's always somebody, who actually took time to organize things and make things happen. So I think having the gratitude to give thanks to the people around us, or to give thanks to the environment for producing the natural materials, give thanks to the teachers, give thanks to your classmates. I think that's a very important attitude. And last but not least is about green. About this green, of course, is not just about painting everything green, but it's to be really thinking about sustainability, thinking about circular economy, thinking about how to turn our trash into treasure, thinking about how to use different kind of materials, and not everything must be new. So these are some values that we inculcate in our studio, so that the kids can participate in making in a sustainable and also grateful way. Yeah, so with that, the next part I want to talk about is the process of thinking. Because of course, design thinking, we always thinking, wow, like such a big statement, right? Wow, is it like you're going to tell me about the 5 steps to be empathy, to define all this? Wow, honestly speaking, I also find that very cumbersome to remember everything. But with me, my team and I, we decided to just simplify to these three keywords lah. Okay, which is to see. You see, what do you see? Okay, you see a problem. Do you see any issue, or what? Do you see something beautiful? And what do you think about that? Like to wonder, to get them to think, get them to question and be curious. And then when as they become curious and as they ask questions and they wonder, then they will say out things. They'll highlight areas that they're able to say, hey, can I do this? And then they can take action. So design thinking to me to bring to kids is nothing more than just bring them to see, observe, take an observation with thinking, and then with the thinking take action. Yeah, so it's a three-step process, which I also kind of align it to Harvard's Project Zero, which they also kind of like take this approach. And then the second half is to look at building it first, then share it, and then learn. Rather than like we learn a lot of theory and then we try to figure it out, and then finally we get so tired and that we can't we get even like bogged down by the theoretical aspect. So I believe that you start with something experiential. It's like Cope's experiential learning process. You start with the experience first, and then you process by sharing your reflection. Instead of thinking on what to learn first, you process about what on hindsight can be improved and what are possible application. And then in your sharing, everybody learn together. So that's something that I think in the design studio, this comes together quite naturally. Because kids also, they are very anxious about starting to build one. So every time they come to my studio, the first thing say, Uncle, but when we start the building, I want to build already. Then I say, okay lah, I think better don't stop you all, better just build first. Then build first already, then the thing cannot stand. They say, hey Uncle, but please help me. This thing cannot stand. I say, now you want to learn already, right? Now are you ready to learn or not? Okay. Now let's sit down. Let me show you how you work. Yeah, because I realize every time I want to teach them, okay, what makes a building stable? And then the kids are, don't know, I know already lah. Then best is experience it, and then they experience it, put the experience into action. Right? So of course, learning is not just within a classroom. We also take kids out to site visits, to visit the neighborhood, to see different environment as a textbook. We believe that the environment is our third textbook, to more than just the physical textbook or the online resources, and we also see how architecture can be a very good link to create that content. So there's the artistic aspect, which is the art, and the community aspect, and the history, and the technology, and the nature. And these five pieces has been kind of the fundamental blocks in Beat Lab since 2015. We've been trying to break it down so that people can see, hey, architecture is not that scary. This word here, there are five components that actually it revolves around our daily lives. And most kids actually likes art, in some form of art lah. We all live in some form of community that we are living and serving with. And a lot of kids love history and stories, So and also technology is not just about digital technology. There are analog technology. There are things that help us to make our world better. So and of course nature is something that the kids all can relate and they enjoy. Yeah. So with this, it forms the core pedagogical structure of how we create themes and how we create different design challenges for kids to embark on building projects, understanding the site, scale, context, or even sometimes understand the culture of how people live and use a space. Yeah. Okay, this part is not so much for children. This part is when we work with facilitators and teachers. Then when we bring the design thinking to the adults and university students, then this becomes something quite useful to think about. We call it dig deep. How do you define the needs of users, investigate, generate ideas, develop prototypes, you experiment it, evaluate it, and present it, which is this is akin to many of the design process. So we tried this to work with parents or even teachers or even design students. It has been quite a helpful tool to for them to exercise their creativity in their own time. Yep. So that's deep. Okay, and last but not least, I want to talk about this 5C, because at the end of the day, building it doesn't mean anything unless it builds somebody's character and inner soul, right? So these are the 5 elements that we really want our children to be prepared for the 21st century, to develop sense of the ability to communicate. Communication skill is not just about talking, it's about visual, about spatial, demonstrating their ideas and drawing and model making, develop confidence, critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity. So these are some of the frameworks that we really long to pass it down to our next generation, through the design studio methodology. And I just want to use this case study in 2019. This was before COVID. So that time I was working with Sarah and and her 2 kids, Elisha and Ezekiel. We went to develop this material kit called Craft a Toy Kit. It was a project that we wanted to do for architecture festival, that we try to give these kits to student care kids. So it was an interesting project that it became a child-driven project where Elijah and Ezekiel started to think about what are the things kids like to do. So he talked about, like, he likes food, fashion, clothes they wear, or building, or things that moves, or things they play. Then I realized that, wow, from the children's perspective, really quite different. But then we try to design something that is around that sort of need, and this became like almost like a prototype of what later on during the pandemic we'll use. I mean, of course, at that point in time, we didn't know that we'll eventually use it. We thought it's just going to be a nice kit passed to the students. They do it in their own time. But later on during the pandemic, this became a fundamental building block for us to think about how to package learning, within a kit with certain instruction, and with certain materials that can be easily accessible, to allow creativity to take place. So in 2020, it became literally, we evolved that kit into a first aid kit. We call it the first aid kit, architect's first aid kit. And then we invite architects to come for talk, to get kids on board, and then they can receive the kit, and then they can look at, like, the different problem statements. So for example, you can see here, virus, like coronavirus, and how do we solve problem with that in space? Can we create more ventilation in our house? Flooding areas, and how can we create steel elevated houses, or houses that can move, to create, so all this become like a building block for different discussion about scenarios and issues that are pertaining to our daily lives. And then these are some of the works that the kids done in their own time in school. And then they take picture, we consolidate the photos. Even though we can't see them physically, but we use this like pen pal idea. We call design pal. So they'll write letter. So they'll write letter to the architect, say, hey, I designed this house. This house got what? And then I will take the letter and send to an architect. And the architect will reply to the kid and say, oh, hi, Rudy. Oh, this is a great design, but maybe you should consider this. So that it was this exchange of idea that became like we've been doing this ever since. I think this design pal thing, we won't be stopping it anytime. I think it's something really meaningful between a child and an architect, and then we will involve different architecture companies to have the architects to become that design pal letter writer. Yeah. So okay, just now there was somebody saw 201, 102. Yeah. So this is like another example of like the 100 series workshop that we did for younger children. Yeah. So 100 series is for the kids in preschool, probably between like 5.5 to about like 6, 7. Yeah. So we have basic workshops that's involving like measurement, scale, and space and pattern. I think some of the kids here, I think Matthias have taken one of the module 2 years ago. Yeah. So we use things like symmetry, pattern, yeah, or even creating models, taking picture of ourselves, draw ourselves.
Yeah,
So
very
kids, I
cute.
think I hope you enjoy the presentation so far. These are my last few slides. To just to use our body to express architecture. So I would love to hear and to take more questions from you guys for the next 10 minutes or so. Yeah. Anybody got any questions would like to ask?
Hmm. Yeah. Ask your questions, children. You can type or you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Or maybe I can ask a question. What's the greatest challenge in communicating about creativity to children? in your own wherever you are. Like, I mean, I'm sure you guys all work with creative work somewhere or another, but what are some of the difficulties and challenges that you have faced in this exploration?
Okay, maybe I have a question. Why do you like architecture? Or why did you learn? Or did you have other interests when you were young?
Oh, I like to draw. I like to make things. I like to make models. So I mean, like those things were my fundamental blocks lah. But at the same time, I like to talk. I like to find out history and geography. Yeah. So I didn't know there's a topic called architecture until much later. Yeah. But I felt that it was important to uh, in the university time. I felt that I was super ill prepared to know what's to come, and I always have this desire to bring this earlier to younger people so that they don't only talk about it when they are 17 or 20 years old.
Is it why you chose architecture? Like because you like doing all these things, or what's the biggest thing that drew you into it? Yeah.
I think okay, honestly at that point in time I don't have a very good philosophical answer. I was just like, oh, okay, there's this thing called art, this thing can draw, this thing can make, maybe I go and try it out. But then honestly when I'm in it I realized, wow, there's so much more to architecture than just the thing that I know. Of course there are other fancy stylish books about architecture that you can see out there in the museum or library, or sometimes you go to wonderful buildings, you can sense there's something different about this place, and that you wish that you can be that creator, you know. So perhaps those subtle desires just kicked in when the opportunity comes to me.
Hi, Albert. Can I ask? I'm Karine.
Yes, hi.
What is your childhood like? Just curious. And do you like math?
What childhood and math? I mean, as a kid, actually, I struggled with math a lot. I think I only had a thing for math when I'm in secondary school. Primary school, all I mean, even when I came to Singapore, the first few years when for PSLE, I did very badly for math. But I think later on when I grasped the concept of like what math can do to understand the way world works, then it became something interesting. Yeah, because before that, when it was not so engaging, like for example, at that point in time, it became interesting for me to start to count, like because I was staying in my foster family, I mean, like in Singapore, my parents sent me from Taiwan. Then I started to count, like for example, the distance from Taiwan to Singapore. You know, I'll start to create projects like that. There's how long, how much is the flight ticket, conversion between Singapore dollars to Taiwan dollars, you know, conversion of like Singapore dollars. So those things become like the day-to-day thing becomes the interest. Then I'll create my own like conversion rate. I'll create my own charts over the months, what I see Singapore dollars in Taiwan dollars. Yeah. Or even pocket money.
Real life, man. Real life, man.
Yeah. I mean,
Interesting that Karine asked about maths, because I remember when I was young, an adult told me that, you want to, I mean, of course, we were like wondering about the different vocations out there. And then I was like, if you do like maths, right, you cannot be an architect because, if you calculate something wrong by even 1 degree, the entire building will collapse. But so I think that was okay, I cannot do architecture. So that totally like shut my mind off out from wanting to pursue architecture or even considering it
Right.
at all. Yeah.
But actually, that role that you talk about is not architect's role. It's actually structural engineer's role. Yeah. So actually, architect we are not conscious about that one. We just do crazy thing first, then we say the engineer goes sort it out. Yeah. So don't worry. Actually, in fact, architecture is not so mathematical one because you just need to understand the basic lah. I mean, even you create something that's super unbalanced, there's a way in engineering that they can solve it. Yeah. But actually, we in fact, architects is meant to push a boundary. Yeah, because if architects are very cautious, then every building we see out there will be very, very blocky already. Yeah.
Thank you
Thanks.
for clarifying that, because that was my impression also, calcium, that to calculate a lot. That's why I asked about math. I also want to ask, what do you do as an architect actually? Basically, normally, what do you do as an architect?
Wow. Okay, I mean, I spent about 5 years. The first 5 years when I was doing, there was two. Okay, first phase was design competition phase. So my first 1 year as a young architect was to do a lot of competition. So basically, there are different stages. So the design competition part is important because that's where you get jobs in, potential jobs. But then that's where you burn a lot of midnight oil, and then there's how to say, you can't guarantee the project you submit will win or be shortlisted. So you're constantly just like a month, you're just doing like 5 competition, 10 competitions for a year. So that's the sort of thing that you do as a young architect, which is also important. But when you secure one or two projects, then you jump in to become project architect. Then that's where you start to say, okay, I go deep into one of the project, and then from concept, you detail the project to where you can actually have a set of drawing and give it to a contractor to price it. Okay, that's very important because actually architect's role is actually to make the drawing very concise, and then you have drawing and specification. Then it's almost like you want to your bakery owner want to ask how much you need to bake 100 bread and how much and tarts, and then the chef can tell you the menu and then tell you the ingredients. So architecture actually is like that. It's actually to break down the materials into drawings so that the maker, which is the builders, can say, okay, this one I can build, and then I can price it. Okay, so I spent a good 3 years plus to do that when I was doing Changi Airport and doing Sengkang Primary School. I mean, it was fun, but of course, it was also there's a lot of relationship management. You are often put in a position where you have to lead engineers that are like 20 years older than you, and then like because they will just take cue. Architects, what's the design direction? Because the client actually architect usually is the client representative. So engineers and all the guys is like actually consultants. So we're a lead consultant. Yeah. So in a sense, you're being put in a position where you have to lead. So architects actually are leaders in a sense. And then you must understand the sequence. You also must understand like how to administrate. So a lot of the work actually is in administration, in crunching numbers, work with your quantity surveyors to make sure that the numbers and the drawing projection is tally, so that if there's too much money difference, right, then the client is prepared to pay lah. So I mean, I don't know if that's a summarized version of what architects do. Of course, we also will work with something fun lah. But actually, I would say the real part of the work is actually a lot of coordination. Yeah. I mean, that's just a consultant side. There's another part of coordination is with authority, with like URA, BCA, and MPARKs. They will tell you all the regulation. Then you must be quite law abiding. Yeah, but so that's the part I really struggle about a lot. Every single rule. Then we find ways to write waivers to tell the government this one change this no need no, this one we try to find another alternative. Can we do away with this rule? So that we can achieve this goal? So it's a lot of this kind of like a back and forth. And then the engineer will come and scold you, Mr. Architect, please wake up. Cannot, we need this dimension. Like cannot squeeze us anymore. They're like, no, we need this. The client wants this. And then this is our design intention. Yeah, so we have to like balance all that.
Yeah. Albert, this is when I'm gonna be a little bit unkind. Because I was about to ask this question actually. How do you integrate safety into the design in architecture? Because
For
I
children?
was sorry?
For children or for adults?
I mean in your field or like what was your experience, and do you try to imbue this in children? Because I was like with the Ministry of Manpower before I left, and I was doing workplace safety and health. So one of the things that we often talk about is about integrating safety in a design. So we want to work one level up to ensure with the designers, the architects, and even the engineers who design the building to make sure that they put in what do you call that, like features in the building, like safe features in the buildings to make it easy for the workers to maintain, like, you know, like when the workers have to clean the window panes or whatever, the kind of thing. Yeah, so yeah, because if not, then it will be difficult for them to maintain the building, and they put the worker safety at risk. So like, do you try to like consciously do this as an architect, and do you try to integrate this awareness in your programs?
I think when I was an architect, we don't try. We had to. Yeah, there's literally a team consultant called Design for Safety, DFS, and the DFS team every day will ask, okay, this one the clearance height where to put this cable so it's a constant thing that we have to deal with lah. It's like we don't really have a choice, but it's not really so much a choice. It's a part of the design integration lah. Yeah, so safety definitely is one concern. I mean, but now dealing with kids, we in our design studio, safety is also something that we constantly will talk about. The right way to handle the tools, you know, respect for the tools. And I always tell the kids, if you don't respect the tools, you get hurt. Because if you like it to do what you want, then you will get a result that is not suitable for what the tool is meant for. So these are things that we as a whether it's educator or designer, we still have to imbue in our kids, you know, so that the creative process can be meaningfully applied lah. Because safety at the end of the day, you know, is still in many people's concern. It should be one of the important concern. You can have a great environment, but no safety, then it's also not useful at all lah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the questions. Sorry we overrun a bit, but I have one young twin asking. Alicia has these last two questions.
Oh.
Then we will stop and have announcements. Albert, could you answer her question? Yeah.
Okay, favorite architectural marvels, like the favorite building, is it? Okay. I have this favorite building called a mountain house in Copenhagen. I mean, this mountain house doesn't look like a mountain, but it has features like mountain. Yeah, so maybe later you can check it out. A mountain house by BIG Architect. Yeah, I like the way the house is being built, and also how it's related to the context, and how features of mountain is being integrated. How long does it design make a building? Wow, you know, this is a difficult question. It can be as easy as I just use post-it, and then I like friend Gary, like I crap a paper. Oh, this is my design concept already. My design concept is that the building is a crumpled paper. Then this is my concept. Or it can be something that is, of course, it will take time. I think a good design will take. I mean, if you're practical building lah, it takes 9 months to develop a tender drawing. But for kids studio, about 10 weeks lah. 10 weeks we can build a fairly nice architecture model lah. Yeah, I mean, I hope that that can answer the children's timeline. So physical model, maybe 10 weeks. Okay, a quick model, maybe 3 weeks. Then I mean, each week we'll dedicate a couple of hours only lah, not like every day you're doing it. Okay.